Good morning from Miami, Florida. It is Tuesday, December 21st, 2021, and I am clearly in a different location. I'm coming to you today from Miami, Florida. Um, I'm going to title this episode Miami Interlude. So, if this is your first video in the series, this is episode 9 in a series entitled Giving Myself Voice. Welcome. If this is the first time you've ever watched any of my videos, welcome to you as well. I have been in the midst of sharing a very intimate experience I had in an online marketing course. With the conclusion of episode 8, the brunt of really focusing in on the specifics of the course is more or less completed. And now for the remaining episodes, I'm going to begin to extrapolate out and really discuss what I feel are some extremely important higher level topics, ideas, issues facing our world, but it all begins with us. So, using myself as an example, using my experience and my analysis of this course, of this experience I had in the course, I am going to speak to a number of different things from what I call a higher level perspective as I zoom out. I'm also going to very purposely weave that into a more detailed description and discussion of my big project called Ripple2020.world. Well, that's the website, Ripple2020.world, and the project is called Ripple 2020. And yes, even though we're approaching 2022, the project was initiated in 2020, and there's a lot of meaning in 2020, I think, to all of us, given that's when the world really shifted in pretty unprecedented ways and has led us to where we are today. Now, I am here in Miami. Yet another sort of intuitive decision for me to come here. It has been, as I've alluded to before, a very challenging for past 2 years for me energetically, primarily because I was very much fed by a company for whom I was a contract employee. This company, actually, Ironman. It was, although, as I've said before, I always am going to have critiques of any company where money is more important than the human. And I think any big company struggles with that. The humans I worked with on the ground were some of the best human beings I've ever worked with. The teamwork with which we had to work to execute our not so small events was unprecedented in my adult life. Hadn't really experienced anything like that since college in terms of actually operating as a team. And as I've alluded to earlier, I am very much wired as a team player. So, not having those experiences for the better part of 5.5 years, I traveled on average about 15 weeks a year. Not having that has been extremely tough for me. I have not had anything in my life that's collaborative. As I've shared also, my present primary income comes from a farm that I love, but that is very tough for me because let's just say, it's run with no structure whatsoever. And the teamwork is thus there's no guidance, there's no leadership, there's no guidance, there's no vision. And I try to bring that to the place, just given that I've been there in some capacity for 13 years and I care about it. They're my family in a lot of ways more than my blood family. But it's not the same. I'm leaned on very, very heavily there. And as I've also said, it's challenging for me to try to keep that place open, which when I say we've barely been able to stay open for 5 years now. It takes away from my dream work and my work of my company, and it takes a toll on my soul. So I needed a reboot. In addition, I inherited two elder cats 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago. And one of them, God love him, Mr. Shadowcat, has had diabetes, pancreatitis, hypothyroidism, and most recently, dementia. And if you look up cat dementia, one, yes, it exists. One of the primary symptoms is they cry at night. Well, he kind of cries all day, but it's worse at night. So I haven't had a solid night's sleep since April of 2020. Interestingly, his dementia correlated exactly with the pandemic. So I find that, aren't we all a little disoriented, buddy? But no kidding, kidding aside, I have not, a good night is being up with him twice. That's a good night. And I've had more than a handful of sleepless nights since April of 2020. He just gets disoriented. And, half the time I'll just yell to him that he's okay from my bed, but I do get up because it immediately soothes him. So, childless human, no human children here. So boy, do I have a whole new level of appreciation for moms and dads with newborns. It's real, the effect of not having solid sleep. And I'm now knocking on, getting into the 2 years since I've had solid sleep. Now, why I thought that I would get solid sleep in downtown Miami in the flight path for the airport confuses me a bit because 0 for 1 did not get the best night's sleep last night, but as evident by the fact that I'm already up and going at 7:40 is beside the point. We've got 2 more nights to try. But what really brings me here is so why come here to Reboot? I'm not a particularly big city person. I'm not even a big party person at all, which is a bit strange that I would choose to come to this big solstice gathering being hosted by this couple that, again, another couple that has a big following in the spiritual community. This time, I am vowing to learn the lesson that I didn't realize when I entered Mark's course. I didn't realize the high level of expectation that I had on what being around a bigger spiritual community would mean. So, no expectations here, none whatsoever. At least that is my intention, is no expectations. I am really looking to just reboot. Among some other ceremonial things that we're going to be doing around the solstice here, the event starts at 2:45 this afternoon and goes till midnight. There's also a 3-hour from 7 to 10 the husband is a DJ. So there's going to be dancing involved. And I plan, at least in that time, to disappear into my own little world and hopefully get the music flowing within me and just get a reboot. It's just been a really exhausting couple of years. And, like I said, I'm still pretty surprised I'm flying so solo in the spiritual work I yearn to do. It's one of the reasons I was so destroyed by what happened in Mark's class, is because when I set out on my 6-figure leap of faith, I naively thought it would be off the ground and I'd be off and running in 1 year's time. And here I am 9 years later, and I'm still more or less solo in any of the work. And it's not been easy. And that's why the expectation, albeit I didn't realize it was such a high expectation, that's why it was so big. And it was like, in some way I was like, help me, like I've done my part. I've been holding space. Somebody give me that benefit of the doubt and just let me share a little bit of what I got in motion, and let's just see if we can find some win-wins. So anyhow, I am already feeling a little bit of a good jolt. It was hell getting out of town yesterday. I didn't get here till like 8 at night. I'm in this little cute Airbnb, which, I talk about synchronicities. So it was really impulsive. And the first thing I did when even thinking about this, coming to this event, was I had never stayed at an Airbnb. I had stayed at a couple for a race, but they were booked on my behalf. This is the first time I've ever booked my own Airbnb and had the experience from A to Z on my own. And when I first looked to see if there was an Airbnb near where the event was, it's right around the block. Like an Airbnb was available for what I feel like is a pretty reasonable per night cost, given I'm in downtown Miami, uh, right around the block. Like I'm less than a quarter of a mile from the event. And that was my first synchronicity that I was like, okay, I think I better go to this event. The second synchronicity was there's a bakery around the corner called Mama Leone's. And anybody that happens to watch this from my Ironman family knows that Leone, a guy named with the last name of Leone, is really like a brother to me. That young man was the primary person I worked with. He was the primary person that caused me to say yes to the big opportunity that fell in my lap back in 2015. And so those two synchronicities, as silly as that may sound, the availability of a place right around the corner and the name of a bakery happening to match the name of somebody important to me, were the two reasons that caused me to go ahead and purchase, this ticket and make this happen. And much like with Mark's class, this isn't easy for me to spend. This is a chunk of money. And I'm not much in the material world. I'm all about experiences, and preferably experiences with humans that don't need a lot of material things. So this too will be, a bit unusual for me to treat myself to something like this. So no, it's also not easy to leave my little cats. I've left them in the care of somebody, which is a whole nother story. But that person, they are very comfortable with the person with whom I've left them, and that is allowing me to also have more of an ease of mind, because after being on the road 15 weeks a year for 5.5 years, I've only been gone 4 nights, I think, in 2 years. So those little kitty cats definitely are adversely affected when I leave. Okay, so that's just the gist. We're going to move on. I'm still going to reference and use as a point. Like I said, I have nothing but gratitude for Mark and his course. I swear to God, like I don't wish him ill will. I really don't. I just think that if we are going to evolve as a collective, as individuals, and by extension as a collective, if we are going to ever see in mass reality peace, balance, harmony, the two things that must be present are two-way communication, two-way respectful, equal communication, where both sides are seen as equally valid. And we've got to get away from the hierarchies. And my experience as somebody who has spent her whole career in the low part of the hierarchies, but with the understanding, the awareness, the intellect of, a lot of the people at the top, but I've spent it at the bottom. I can tell you the people at the top don't get called out very often. And very rarely is somebody at the bottom, most oftentimes they can't take the risk, whatever that may be. And there are many to call out a power structure or an individual within a power structure. And I do have a big criticism of the spiritual and truther community right now with I call it the Hollywood aspect. I don't think you're as different from what you're criticizing as you think as a collective. I think there are some really big blind spots as a collective in the truther community and in the spiritual community. And we've got to get away from bigger is better. That's fine if some folks want to continue to believe that. But in my humble opinion, I'm not the only one who is more focused and wants to be focused, smaller, more intimate, deeper. And that is the main, in addition to speaking out and giving myself voice, which was the first reason, primary reason I had to speak to the situation from the bigger perspective, the vaster picture. It had to be called out because those two things are huge. To not have equal two-way communication and the respect for that, and to take advantage of the power and influence that ones have when they either have big followings, when they have a ton of money, when they have important titles. And I just don't understand how you can be critiquing what these folks are generally critiquing out in the world and not see to what degree, you're not that much different. As I said before, is it more of the same or is it truly different? So we are going to reboot today. I'm going to go explore and run out in the city or find a place where I can kind of get a run in. And maybe I will do another recording later, but probably not. I'm going to try to work offline in a lot of my stuff today, and we'll upload this later and share. And I wish you all a tremendous, if you celebrate at all the solstice, happy solstice, longest day of the year. Sorry, shortest day of the year. And I hope to have an awesome report for you tomorrow regarding today's event. And we will get back to discussing some of these bigger themes that were triggered within me and made it's a great thing to have this core of this experience to be able to relate to and speak to. It actually really helps to be able to talk about some of the higher level stuff. So I have no ill will and no anger. I had to work through a lot of that, of course, but I'm on the other side of it now, and I really am sharing because I genuinely believe there's tremendous value in it, well beyond just for me. So everybody have a great day. We'll talk to you later.